hardest question to answer haunts in silence. Do you even know who you are? Consider that most individuals drift through existence wearing borrowed identities, stitched together from television screens, social media feeds, whispered parental expectations, and the casual judgments of long-forgotten teachers. Many live as patchworks of others' desires, a reflection crafted not by their own hands, but by the countless voices that shape them. Where is the self in this cacophony? The majority walk around convinced that what defines them springs from within, but they never bothered to look closely. Instead, they paste on borrowed opinions, mimic shallow trends, and carry the heavy weight of insecurities that never belonged to them in the first place. Remove the layers of influence, and what remains? Perhaps an empty vessel desperate to be filled, searching for something real, but settling for hollow echoes. Within that emptiness, there lies both terror and opportunity. The world encourages dependence on external guidance, and those who comply become machines, programmed by the collective dreams of strangers. Consider how easy it is to consume what others feed you. Opinions served on digital platters, lifestyles prepackaged for quick approval, personalities shaped by flickering images on a screen. Where is the self-actualization in that? Most fall into this pattern unconsciously. The process is subtle, creeping in with each liked post, each parental sigh of disapproval, each teacher's raised eyebrow. Layers upon layers of conditioning form a shell so thick that the original self becomes unrecognizable, a distant memory buried beneath everyone else's influence. In that process, one becomes synthetic, alive, but not truly living. A marionette dancing to strings, pulled by unseen hands, convinced that this dance is freedom. Ask yourself, when did you last form an opinion, not influenced by external noise? When did you last crave something purely because it stirred your core, not because some glowing screen convinced you it mattered? The masses succumb to the easy path. Do what is popular. Embrace what is trending. Fear stepping out of line. This mass programming is the death of individuality, the quiet euthanasia of personal essence. Those who dare step off this conveyor belt of borrowed identities become threats to the established order, anomalies that challenge the comfort of the collective narrative. The old guard hates anomalies because anomalies reveal the lie of the system. Consider how this layered dependence robs you of control. If your sense of self is constructed by parents, shaped by teachers, and polished by media machines, whose life are you truly living? Most unknowingly, hand over their minds on a silver platter, surrendering the power to define themselves. This leads to a robotic existence where actions lack genuine purpose, where words are echoes of others, where choices are preordained scripts. The tragedy is that this illusion feels safe. No decisions to make, no risks to take, no authenticity to uphold. Safety without identity is a prison cell padded with false comfort. Breaking free demands immense effort. One must strip away the layers of expectation, face the frightening emptiness that lurks beneath. That emptiness is a void many fear more than death. Better to be an imitation than nothing at all, they say. But nothingness is not the enemy. Within it lies infinite potential. The moment you reject the programming, reject the borrowed persona, reject the external definitions, you stand at a threshold. On one side, comfortable emptiness. On the other side, the hard journey to become something authentic. Most choose comfort, resigning themselves to a life of following, never leading, never truly existing as themselves. To reclaim your identity, you must embrace discomfort and uncertainty. Step outside the boundaries set by others. Silence the voices demanding conformity. In that silence, your own voice might finally break through. Who are you really? Do you stand tall when stripped of external validation? Or do you crumble like so many who came before? The question terrifies because it requires introspection, effort, a willingness to face what lies beneath the masks. It calls for wrestling with inner demons and facing the raw core of your being. The process is painful, but pain is the price of liberation. The masses prefer to hide behind trends and borrowed ambitions. In doing so, they merge into a collective monotony, a chorus of identical whispers. Standing apart from this chorus feels like insanity, but it is the only way to reclaim your soul. Once you reject their influence, you face a harsh solitude. Yet in that solitude, you find real power. Only when stripped of all external crutches do you learn to walk on your own. Only then do you learn to wield your own mind, create your own path, define your own meaning. The old persona dies, and something stronger, more resilient, emerges. The world despises this transformation. It calls such rebels arrogant, stubborn, contrarian. Let them hurl insults. Words from a crowd that lives in borrowed skins mean nothing. This journey is not for applause. It is for personal sovereignty. In forging your unique identity from the molten fragments of your soul, you become something ungovernable, untouchable, unstoppable. The silence that follows is the silence of awe, confusion, fear. Those who remain part of the static mass cannot comprehend your metamorphosis. To them, you are a glitch in their carefully maintained illusion. Who are you when all borrowed pieces are stripped away? That might be the hardest question ever asked. Most never dare to find the answer, spending their lives in someone else's shadow. But for those who do dare, the reward is indescribable. Control, autonomy, real confidence. These are not gifts handed down by parents, teachers, or media overlords. They are spoils of war, claimed only by those who refuse to live by borrowed scripts. Rejecting the mass narrative is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of creation. Shed the programming, discard the influences that chain you, and step into the void of self. That void is terrifying, but within it lies everything you never knew you needed. Embrace the discomfort, face the emptiness, sculpt your own identity from the chaos within. Most never do this, forever enslaved to others' visions. But you can be the exception, the anomaly, the one who stands apart. The solution is not found in more noise, more input, more hollow praise. The solution is to disconnect and think more, to step away from the endless clutter, the ceaseless demands for your attention, and to embrace experimentation. Consider how experimentation carved the human race into what it is now. Without experimentation, there would be no fire, no wheel, no harnessing of the winds and waves. How arrogant of anyone to believe they can live without testing their limits, without risking failure, without exploring the unknown. Most drift through existence, clinging to old patterns, old comforts, old fears, never daring to push their minds to the edge. But to evolve, to claim your place in the grand narrative of life, you must be intentional with your living. Let stagnation be your enemy. For if you do not break free and experiment, regret awaits, festering like a hungry beast in the twilight of your years. Think of old age, with regret as a breeding ground for cruelty, for sadistic impulses, fueled by the bitterness of a life, half-lived. Experimentation is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The human mind thrives on challenge, on stepping into darkness to discover new paths. Those who refuse to experiment remain trapped in a box built by others, each wall plastered with expectations and rules never chosen by the occupant. Without experimentation, how can you find what truly drives you? How can you escape the dullness of a life scripted before you were born? The arrogance of rejecting experimentation is astounding. It implies that your current understanding of reality is complete, that no new insight could possibly enrich your soul. Yet history laughs at such arrogance. For every breakthrough required stepping beyond what was known, what was safe. Embrace discomfort as a signpost that you are pushing your limits, forging new skills, and sparking dormant potentials. Only then do you become a sculptor of your own destiny, rather than a consumer of someone else's script. Cognitive stagnation creeps in quietly. It feasts on routine, on days blending into weeks, on the lullabies of monotony. Without experimentation, your cognitive abilities dull like a blade never honed. Your mind stops seeking new angles, new interpretations, new meanings. Instead, it settles for what others have served you, regurgitating secondhand opinions as if they were your own. By pushing your cognitive boundaries, you do more than grow. You redefine growth itself. To stand still is to rot. The human brain was never designed for endless comfort. It thrives on puzzles, mysteries, challenges. Relinquish experimentation, and you trade your mind's edge for a cushion that suffocates your potential. Intentional living is not about grand declarations or public affirmations. It is about the silent contract you make with yourself each morning. The decision to try something different, to stretch your limitations, to risk looking foolish if it means tasting a new flavor of existence. Without intention, life reduces to a loop. Wake, consume, sleep, repeat. Experimentation breaks that cycle. It carves escape routes from the labyrinth of expectations. Those who dare to experiment become pioneers of their own psyche, mapping uncharted territories. And in that mapping, you become an explorer, never content with what is already known, always hungry for the next revelation. Tuning out the static of outside influences allows the faint voice of your own intuition to emerge.